Well, power utility Eskom has trebled the amount of winter maintenance that it's doing this year in order to prevent generator units from breaking down and putting a greater strain on the grid. That's the word from Eskom's acting chief executive, Brian Molefe.
Well, he told a news conference earlier that Eskom would have 5,500 megawatts of capacity down for maintenance during the winter months. This out of a total installed capacity of around 43,000 megawatts. Well, to tell us more, let's join Diabo Seto now. She is at that press briefing. Diabo, good afternoon. Well, I want to start with this 25% tariff increase application by Eskom. It's been in the offing for months now with the energy regulator, and I believe Brian Molefe spoke to it this morning.
Absolutely, Devon. Good afternoon. Well, I come from the Chief Executive's office this afternoon. And yes, during the press briefing, he did allude to the fact that later this month, we will see the application for a tariff increase to NERSA being reviewed, or the announcement thereof being made. And he did explain to us a little bit of how they came about to the 25% that people know about. He spoke that the actual application that they are requesting is 6.8, with a number of other like diesel costs that are included there, and independent power producers costs that are included there. But with me, I have Mr. Molefe, who will explain to us just how they've broken down the application for the tariffs to NERSA. Mr. Molefe, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Thank you very much for joining us. You said the actual application is 6.8%. Break it down to us. How does it come to 25%?
It's 6.8%. The other 2% is for diesel and for connecting the IPPs, independent power producers. That has been granted, so that brings it to about 8%. And then the 4.7% is in fact a clawback from last year, which strictly speaking is not about this year. It's because last year the regulator actually allowed less than what they should have, and when we came back with the actual numbers at the end of the year, there was a clawback that was allowed of about 4.7%, and that's included in the 12% that has been approved. So, so the 12% has been approved, which is made up of the 8% and the 4% clawback. Now, we're asking for an additional 10 billion for diesel, because we use diesel before we load shed. Diesel gives us an additional 2,000 megawatts. It's expensive, I agree, but the cost of load shedding is much higher than using diesel. So it is quite a high cost for Eskom. It is quite a high cost perhaps for the consumer. But if you can imagine that 2,000 megawatts that we can get from diesel, if we do not have it, is immediately going into stage 2 load shedding. And the cost to the economy for the rest of the year would be much bigger than the 10 billion that we're asking for. So it is not a pleasant thing to ask for, I agree, but the other side of the coin is that if we do not have the diesel, we will immediately every time go into stage 2 load shedding, or when we are in stage 1 load shedding, we would then be in stage 3 load shedding if we do not have the diesel, because it mitigates some of the costs.
How confident are you that NERSA will grant you this application?
Well, we have made the application. NERSA will have public hearings. We expect the NERSA will consider our application. They will also consider the submissions in the public hearings, and then they will make a decision that is fair. But no matter how this decision goes, the principle of us getting the money later on the basis of a clawback has been established. So if we can show later that in fact the 10 billion was prudent, maybe a year or 2 years from now, 18 months from now, then we can claw it back. What we're asking for is for that money to be advanced in front, at front, so that we take the pain now rather than postpone it for 2 years. It is not something that is new and fresh that we're asking for.
We do, of course, know about the cost deficiencies that the power utility is currently facing, and we're expecting that government had said that they'll give you a bailout of around 23 billion rands by June. It is June now. Do you know when it will happen, and where will you administer it first as soon as you get it?
We actually were at the Appropriations Committee on Friday. We made a presentation there, and the matter is going going to the National Assembly. The bill is going to the National Assembly before the end of the month, and as soon as it has been through the National Assembly, the Minister of Finance will be able to make the transfers of the money. At the moment, we need legislation to allow the Minister of Finance to make the necessary transfers of money.
And just lastly, obviously today, for instance, we're seeing these very, very cold winter months, and our audience at home will probably want to know what the load shedding prognosis is. Can we expect to see Eskom shedding more load? You did say in your speech during the presentation that you have supplied power for the majority of the time. However, you still will be experiencing load shedding incidences.
Yes. I mean, like Saturday we did not have load shedding at all. Sunday we had load shedding in the evening between 5 and 10, and it was stage 1 load shedding. We're quite comfortable that it is Sunday, and in fact we did load shedding to prepare for Monday because we had to pump some of the dams full so that we avoid load shedding on Monday during working hours. Yesterday we did not have load shedding at all. At the moment we are not having load shedding, and our plan is not to have load shedding this evening. However, it depends on the system. It depends on if one or other machine trips or breaks down or something happens, we may have to announce load shedding. But in terms of our plans, we do not plan to have load shedding. We intend to manage the system in terms of what I was explaining earlier, a new plan to make sure that we can maintain the machines without load shedding.
Thank you very much, Mr. Molefe, for your time.
Pleasure.
Thank you. Well, that was Mr. Molefe, the Chief Executive of Eskom, and talking to us about the load shedding prognosis, the 23 billion rand that we're expecting from government, and also the NERSA application. And it's back to you in the studio.